exoskeletons once lived firmly in the realm of science fiction.
It used to be everybody envisioned the exoskeleton that could do everything. It was the Iron Man type exoskeleton that you wear and can do every task you want.
But over the past decade, technological advances have created a boom in exoskeletons for everyday use.
You can see that these two cables here, they pull up when I try to move.
Technology that was until recently confined to a hospital or lab is now on sale to the public. Could exoskeletons give ordinary people a welcome boost? Or will we become unable to live without them?
You take it off and you're like, oh, I'm a little bit slower, and then you feel slower.
As commercial devices improve, we're about to see the age of exoskeletons.
The oldest patent application that people have found happened around the turn of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s. And the idea was to build like this spring device to run with so that it would let you run longer and bigger steps and use less energy. It was never built as far as we know.
Daniel Ferris first started working in the field of robotic exoskeletons over a century after these designs were patented. While the 19th century envisioned bowed wood, compressed gas and metal springs to aid in walking, running and jumping, engineers of the 21st century used steel struts and heavy motors, and they were focused largely on helping people who'd become paralysed by injury or disease. But even at the turn of the new millennium, the technology wasn't quite as slick as you might hope.
Number one, they were very big, massive, bulky. So if you want to change direction, it slows you down and it becomes very clear you're not moving in the same way. And two, they didn't have enough degrees of freedom. And the problem is it became very much like walking in a pool of water or even a pool of molasses. And so all of the early designs in exoskeletons felt like you were doing extra work to get it to move.
In the last decade, the hardware has improved a lot, particularly when it comes to the motors that power these devices.
And funny enough, the place that helped out the most originally was drones, little flying quadcopters. Drones are something that people were willing to invest in, so the technology got better really quickly.
The technology, in this case, was motors small and light enough to fly, which meant they were also small and light enough for people to wear and move in without feeling like they were walking through molasses. But having the right hardware wasn't enough, and that next step required another recent technological development.
The biggest advances that have happened in the last few years for exoskeleton have really come because of AI and machine learning. If you build a dictionary large enough of all types of movements, people walking, people running, galloping, skipping, stumbling, taking short steps, jumping, crawling, every type of human movement, fighting, dancing, and you build not a large language model, but a mega movement model with all of these different motions, you can start to train your AI to learn how to understand what those motions are and to predict how to move in the future.
These advances mean that the latest exoskeletons look very different from the chunky robotic limbs of recent decades.
The wearable robotic suits that we build in the lab kind of look like this. For example, this is a belt. So it has motors, it has batteries, and the whole electronics is contained within the soft structure. The structure itself is made of flexible and, let's say, lightweight piece of clothing, so the people can wear it over their clothes.
Enrica Tricomi worked on this soft exosuit as part of her PhD. The power comes from motors which pull thin wires referred to as artificial tendons.
So here we have the motors. The motors are connected to a pulley, and this pulley wraps up the tendons. You can see, maybe you can hear a bit the noise, but you can see that these two cables here, they pull up. When I try to move, they pull up my leg, trying to amplify the motion, and therefore while walking I get supported. And then on the suit there are specific sensors. These sensors are a simple inertial measurement unit that are used to locate and to detect the position, velocity and orientation of the leg during walking. So if I stop, the suit stops, but if I walk, If I work, the pattern is recognized.
The sensor data is interpreted by AI to figure out what the user is trying to do and how the suit should respond. This whole thing only weighs about 2.5 kilograms, and importantly, it's soft and flexible.
This is an advantage of soft robotic suits over rigid structures, for instance, because you are completely free to move over every plane of motion, and the structures are not cumbersome and are not restricting really your intended movement pattern. They're just amplifying and supporting it.
Enrica and her colleagues designed this to aid older people with muscle weakness, specifically for activities such as walking, climbing, and hiking. They initially tested it on themselves before recruiting 12 volunteers to put it through its paces on a short hike.
So we tested the 12 individuals hiking, and what we generally test is through a metabolic analyzer, that is a mask that the person wears. We record the O2 and CO2 consumption, and then from there you can have an estimation of the energy that is required to perform the walking task. And we were able to demonstrate that we could save on average 18% of the metabolic energy that was required to perform the hiking activity.
Enrica's exosuit is just a prototype, but it's an example of a shift in exoskeleton design and in ideas about who might want to use this kind of technology. Historically, exoskeletons were designed either for military applications or medical use, for wheelchair users, say. But now, Daniel says there's something new driving the field forward.
We now have a third push, which is I'm getting just a little bit older and I still want to go hang out with my son or my grandson, and I want to go to Disney World and walk around all day, or I want to go backpacking with them, but I get tired. Why can't I have something like a walking stick that's a little bit more powerful than a walking stick, that lets me keep up with them and to go farther? And that consumer disposable income niche is also driving the market right now.
An exoskeleton or exosuit is now something that almost anyone could use, and these lightweight and unobtrusive wearable devices are much more appealing to the general public. Companies are starting to take notice. There are startups like HeroWear who make this low-tech exosuit, which uses essentially elastic bands acting as extra back muscles, support for people who are bending and lifting hundreds of times a day for work. Then there are huge companies like Nike who are working with robotics company Defy on a new ankle exoskeleton aimed at what they call everyday athletes. In China, a number of popular tourist locations and mountain trails have exoskeletons available for rent. Or you can buy your own. Chinese company Hypershell sells this robotic exoskeleton for gentle strolls or tough terrain.
People are using it for hiking, they're using it for walking. There's a coolness factor to it right now. The consumer market for healthy, neurologically intact individuals is where a lot of the state-of-the-art is happening.
Walking with an exoskeleton has often been likened to the experience of riding an electric bike rather than a pedal bicycle. They give an unexpected boost that people quickly get used to.
You don't think you're changing as much as you do when you wear an exoskeleton, but then you take it away and you quickly notice how much you learn to depend on it. You feel like you have to think about each step for a little bit until you get back to being automatic again.
But could people end up depending on exoskeletons a bit too much? Daniel isn't worried.
If you've ever seen the Pixar movie WALL-E, these people are in these wheelchairs that move them around and they don't do anything for themselves. We are not in that situation with exoskeletons. Every time we've actually had long-term chronic use of exosuits or exoskeletons, people have tried to find evidence they're getting weaker. It doesn't show up. They're not overtaxing their muscles, but they're not using those muscles. It's a support. It's not a replacement. You're at an order of magnitude away from what you would need to cause widespread atrophy.
Daniel says the field is at an inflection point, and we're now seeing much faster technological developments than in the last 5 or 10 years. So are we about to find ourselves in an age of exoskeletons?
You can go to an amusement park and check out a wheelchair. 5 years from now, it would not be surprising if you go to that same amusement park, you can check out an exoskeleton.
And Daniel's hoping that perhaps one day he'll be able to benefit from the technology that he spent so much of his career working on.
So I am 56 years old. I used to play American football in college, and I've had 12 surgeries, so I know down the road I'm going to have problems with my hips and my knees and my ankles. I like the idea of offloading some of the work in the exoskeleton so that you have less problems with the muscles that are having to do the work to keep up with your everyday life.
The idea of the science fiction supersuit with enhanced strength and speed and stamina still exists. There's still interest and funding from military organisations, and technology for supporting people with impaired mobility continues to improve. But the exoskeletons we're starting to see more of around the world aren't designed to give people superpowers. For those who can afford them, they're a physical support or personal energy boost, adding a little spring in the step, just like those 19th century patents set out to do a century ago.